probably known Linda about 6 or 7 years at this
Okay.
point, give or take. Again, I got to know her through working at the Diocese of Camden. I was the events coordinator while I was there. So obviously having somebody like Linda in your back pocket is key because events tend to have swag, which she was, known for, marketing items, that basically the whole package. And I loved working with Linda from the gate because from the very first meeting, she brought basically a rolling luggage suitcase of samples. So I could actually see immediately exactly what it was that she was talking about, and she could do comparisons between items for what it was that we were looking. And so, yeah, we definitely wanted to do backpacks and drawstring bags for certain things. And she had like 4 or 5 different types in her hand that she could be like, all right, well, which sort of type do you want? Which style do you want? And it never ceases to surprise me how she seems to know her not workshops, but I guess the factories. She's like, okay, this factory is definitely better in doing these sorts of things than this factory. So if you want this particular product, this is probably the factory you want to go with. It never ceases. It does not matter what. She's got hundreds of thousands of products, and she always seems to know. And I have no clue how she does that, but she always seems to know which factory will be on point, and she's never been wrong. I have ordered everything from, stickers, magnets, backpacks, to pens, bandanas, all sorts of stuff. And never once have we missed a deadline. Never once have I been upset with quality. She's just been on point, and she's kept me on point with things because there's so many different deadlines that you need to hit, whether it's approving, approving the artwork, approving the quantities, making sure that the ETA for arrival is good. She always kept me on task with all of it because, again, I'm juggling 7,000 things. And it's nice to have her almost like as a personal assistant going, you need to look at this. You need to approve this. Make sure you pay this. So Linda, I cannot recommend her highly enough, and I really do. I always drop her to anybody who's looking for something marketing related. The fact that she has so many samples on her person at all times, and that she knows her suppliers, I think. Whereas, and I still work with other marketers, don't get me wrong. With my other folks, I only get very specific things from them. And I tend to be grandfathered in. So when I start a job, we already have line items that are taken care of by other vendors. But for example, when I left the Diocese of Camden and I started working at Homeward Bound Pet Adoption Center, I brought Linda with me. So we didn't have anybody who did bandanas. We didn't have anybody who did magnets. So I was able to bring Linda and say, hey, I got a person for that. Whereas we did have folks who would do posters or T-shirts and things like that, which Linda also provides. If I was unhappy in any way, and I can't even honestly think of a time where I didn't like something that Linda had sent over. But she would send me samples. Oh, actually, that's a really good example. So we did a car show for the very first time when I was at Homeward Bound. We actually did it last spring. And so I needed a bunch of car stuff. And surprisingly, Linda has car stuff too, like tire gauges, and you can brand them, surprisingly. And so I asked her like, hey, do you have anything along these lines that we would be able to utilize in a swag bag for a car show? And sure enough, she went through her list and she came back to me with like 15 different items and said, hey, what about these? And I'll send you samples of these. And so she did, and I was able to go through and pick out things that we could use for the car show. If I were to have done that with my other vendors, I wouldn't have gotten a list back. I might have gotten like, well, we can do a T-shirt. Like almost like the fire hydrant of information from Linda, whereas I'm pulling teeth with the other vendors. So honestly, it got to the point where I didn't even bother with the other and I don't. It's the truth. I really don't bother with other vendors and things like that because there's no point. Linda takes care of all of it for me, so why would I go to somebody else? So that's why I like Linda so much. She really is a solutions provider. So for Homeward Bound, that's where I worked. It was a value add for sponsors. So it would be, we were an animal shelter, And rather than us branding things with Homeward Bound, we would brand them with Mid-Atlantic Marketing.
Yeah, so it was really for our sponsors, and it was a way to entice our sponsors to join us because it was a value add for them. Hey, if you join us at this level, you'll receive this item within the swag bag. So that was marketing for them as well. Linda took care of one of them being a magnet. It had all of our business. So instead of a business card, we did like it was a larger square magnet that had all of our clinic hours, because we were an animal shelter and an animal clinic. So we had all of our hours on there, as well as our wish list items. So when we would adopt out animals, or we would interact with possible donors, we would always hand those out so that they could just throw it up on their wall and go, oh, I want to donate to Homeward Bound. There's the wish list, you know. Just that was super helpful because, again, it helped us grow our donations. It absolutely did. And folks, there was a significant downtick in confusion regarding our hours after we started doing that. We didn't get as many calls about, oh gosh, you guys open today? They had the hours, so it was very helpful to send those out. And we also did bandanas. So Homeward Bound had our logo on them, and it was really cute for the animals, and it made for really good pictures. And folks really liked that. And then we were able to boost our sales because, in addition to being really good marketing tools, folks wanted to purchase them for their own animals. But in terms of, I guess, the diocesan campaign, she also helped us with what turned out to be an international conference. It was actually, I have it right back here. It was the Full of Grace campaign. Brother Mickey, I don't know if you're familiar with Brother Mickey. He is a internationally renowned artist who happens to live in Camden. And so we asked him to do this icon for us for this conference. It was the Child Youth Protection Conference, an annual conference that is put together by a different diocese every year. So it's basically for every single diocese in the entire church, okay, has an office that is specifically dedicated to the protection of children, youth, and adults with disabilities, okay? So it is specifically to ensure that they are not being taken advantage of by teachers, clergy, whatever it is. And these were all instituted after the giant scandal that happened. So Camden had volunteered to host that conference for 2019. And so since I was the events coordinator at the time, I was the one that was brought on board to put everything together. And of course, probably my third phone call was, hey, Linda, we're doing a big conference and we need marketing materials. So she legitimately took care of everything. She did all of our stickers because I wanted to have stickers of that icon that I showed you on everything. She did tumblers for us. She did the bag. She did I'm pretty sure she did the brochure, not the brochure, the booklet. She did so much for us. 180, I think. It was about 200, give or take. And it had only been up until we took over this event, it was 100 people who would come to it every year. We had victims of, unfortunately, church abuse, because you obviously want to hear from the victims to know. We had speakers from Virtus, which is the training that you go through. Psychologists come in to speak. Brother Mickey also spoke in terms of art as therapy for victims of abuse. And so it's the whole conference. It was a 4-day conference, was aimed at bringing these folks together and dealing with specific issues to obviously the protection of these vulnerable communities. And that is not a sexy conference, okay? But attendance is not the greatest, because it's like, yay, we're going for 4 days to talk about all of these horrible things. Since its inception, I want to say, I think ours was the 9th one, maybe, or 11th. I forget. Rod's gone to all of them, and he's the one that actually put Camden's name in the hat to host. So he says, I think we can change this. And so we really did get together and tried really hard to make this an event that folks would want to attend. And so we did a Tuesday gala in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center we had the mummers come, and and obviously we had little gift bags from Linda that we put together, that we put out. That it was really like a welcome to Philadelphia, and Linda really helped us put together a welcome package that would be something that folks would want when they came. This conference, which typically only had about 100 people, we ended up getting, I think 180 was our total.
Right.
And they not only came from the United States, they came from outside the United States. So it genuinely became an international conference. We had folks from the Philippines come to this.
Okay.
I do attribute some of that to the fact that Linda was so good at curating these welcome bags for us, and all of these. We had so many more sponsors than we normally do, because again, the items were so high quality. So when we went out and went door to door asking for sponsors, my hope is that folks who see that recognize that our conference was about more than just that heaviness of topic. Right? We wanted to instill hope, and that image is all about hope. It's vibrant, it's colorful, it's got the Blessed Mother holding Jesus, who is protecting these two children, the Holy Spirit. I really wanted it to be something that folks wanted to come to year after year. And so having that branding, having that marketing be put out into the ether, right, was really important to me, because I wanted to build up that messaging, build up that image for what the conference actually was and was meant for, rather than, oh God, it's this again. And so having all of that marketing and all of the items that were surrounding it, obviously by the huge bump in numbers, that really resonated with folks. And I genuinely attribute that to the fact that folks are now starting to see this conference in a different light. And that was the goal. That was the whole goal for when Camden took, and it's funny because everybody's like, why would we want to go to Camden? Why would Camden ever volunteer to do something like this? This is not something that we want to do. And now it's actually a bigger thing. And folks, I think is it New Orleans this year? I forget. Anyway, it's actually a thing now, and folks are excited about it. And folks still call Rod and ask him for help planning their conference. So that never happened before. In fact, we generated so much income from because we're not trying to, it's not a for-profit conference, right? But we ended up having a surplus of folks come that we were able to provide seed money for the next conference. Like, that's crazy. I genuinely trust her. So if I say, hey, Linda, I want X, Y, and Z, I know that she will be able to provide it for me.